Welcome. This video is an overview about the lesson of literature review. Literature review is a central component of any research because why do we do literature review? We need literature review to learn about our topic, to learn about what has been done. And so once we know what has been done, we will be able to justify this research and state the novelty of research. So we say, okay, this is what has been done, this is what we know so far, and this is a gap in literature. That is what we still didn't know, or that is the method that is still missing, or that is the artifact that is still missing that we need to introduce or produce. Okay, and that's why why we need like a literature review. We usually do this before we start any research. We conduct literature review in order to situate or ground our work, our research work in literature, and not to duplicate what has been done before. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. So in this lesson, I will we will look at what is literature review, types of literature review. I will skip this part, but then I will give an example. And this video is an overview, so whatever we will do here in the next video, we'll be doing this in more details. Okay. So key section of a research proposal, like where do you need like literature review or where do you conduct literature review? So you conduct literature review in your introductions. That's where the main part of your research proposal or your research report or your research paper in the introduction. So you do literature review. Let me start writing here. Uh, so you do a literature review to learn about the big picture of your research and background information. You do literature review to provide context for what you are doing. But this it would be the main part of your literature review is like your research problem, like the main literature review. So in your research problem, that's where you want to show what has been done before and what is the new information or the new research that we are doing here. And then you do literature review to further refine like your problem statement, your research objective and hypothesis and scope. So you can do this to further refine these things. But we also do literature review in your methods. That's very important, like to learn about your research design, like that research that is similar to mine. How do people design this research? Study sites, that's very important. So, for example, I'm studying a certain aquifer. So I need to do a literature review to learn and to tell the reader what we know so far about this aquifer, like what we know about the hydrogeology of this aquifer, what do we know about the hydrologic and hydraulic condition of this aquifer, what does this aquifer use, the population that are using this aquifer, and both in terms of quantity and quality and things like that. So we need to do literature review to learn about like our aquifer, for example, and provide this information to the reader. Data collection, of course, methods like data analysis technique. And so those who did this research, how does he collect the data? Is this already an available data that I can use, or I need to collect this data? And if this is an available data, where can I get this data? Because that's part of the of what you will be documenting, where you get this data from. Yeah. So you see analysis technique and method, like what technique, what analysis technique, what field method did they use, what laboratory method did they use, and how did they use it, and what statistical analysis method did they generally use to analyze this data? What type of figure do they have? Like which figure should I include and which figure should I be preparing? So that's why you do literature review to learn about all this ethical consideration. So if you are using human subject, what IRB, like we will learn about this, like IRB in institutional review board, we will learn about like IRB and what IRB consideration do I need to account for and how does he obtain this and so on and so forth. So you see why literature review is very important. Part of it is that like you learn, but the most important part is that like you ground your research in literature to highlight the novelty of your research, and then you can sell like this research. You can sell this idea. I'm doing something new. I'm not just replicating what is already there. I'm generating some new knowledge or method here. Okay, and then like the expected result, you can also do some literature review to support like the outcome and impact of your research, and then so on and so forth. Okay, this is the reference. This is where you will be citing all the sources that you have used. Okay. Okay, so what is literature review? It is a comprehensive summary. So you summarize what has been done, but it is not just a summary. It's not that you just say this has done that, this has done that, this has done that, this has done that. It is more than this. It's like a critical analysis. So you provide not just a list of what has been done, but you put this in a meaningful way. You put this in a good story. Because remember, like the objective of any research when you write the introduction is that you want to highlight the novelty of your research. Again, please remember, like novelty at your stage, like novelty is not the key assessment criteria where we be evaluating you against. So we don't care much about novelty. It's fine for us if you are replicating an existing research. That's fine for us. But I'm just speaking in general for like not just for this course, the requirement for this course, but the requirement if you are doing the thesis, the requirement if you will be doing later like a dissertation, or if you will be later publishing your paper. So keep this in mind that this is keep in mind, like remember like what are the expectation of this course, and but what I'm telling you here is beyond this, more general, because there are diverse students. Some students are not necessarily interested in producing like a report, but they want to take this a step further for a publication. So that's how you write a publication, yeah. Or they would be doing like a thesis, yeah. Or they would be later on doing like a PhD dissertation. Yeah. So this is more general. So here you provide a critical analysis. What does critical analysis mean? Like it's not you just provide a list, but you provide like key themes, for example, or key trends in literature. You group them together, you analyze them, and you provide like a good coherent story. And we will learn later about this in detail. So, okay, so that's what is a literature review. Remember, it is not just a summary, it is more like a critical analysis. And I will show you example now. So you provide an overview. So you provide an overview of what we already like know about the topic. We talked about this, so you provide this is what we know, and why do we do it to do this? Because once you tell the reader what we know, you will be easily able to justify the novelty of your research. Yeah. Okay, and then after you identify the gap of existing research by saying what we know, then you can justify like the new parts that you are doing, and then like it guide like your research method. We talked about this. It will help you to know how do people. So this part is about in color. Let me get this one. So this part is about like the what and why, like what do we want to do and why this is important. So this is about the what and why. What do you want to do? And this is about the how. So you learn about the how. Yeah. So here you provide justification, and this is about the how. Okay, these are the types of literature review. I will skip this part, but for curious student, or if you will be doing any of these, please pause the video, read this carefully. If you need more information, you can have a chat with generative AI, artificial intelligence, or you can have a chat with me, with your instructor, like human intelligence, yeah, and I can provide you with more details. Okay, so I will skip this part. Okay, so let's look at two example. Again, this video is just an overview, and we will in the next video we'll learn these in detail. But this is I'm here giving you an overview Okay. Various literature review for your research. So that's basically how you start drafting your introduction. The introduction of your proposal, the introduction, which will be, by the way, like the introduction of your proposal, that would be more or less the same, the introduction of your report next semester. So if you spend, or it could be part of the introduction of your thesis or whatever, or your research paper or whatever you are doing. Yeah. So that's basically how you write the introduction. You start by the research topic, the large topic, the big picture. Then you move on like to narrow it down until like you reach your specific research objective. So let's look at this example. So remember this example of using Earth system model for red tide management. So here in this example, like that's the large topic. So what is the large topic? The large topic is that I will talk about like Earth system model and especially the new generation of Earth system model. This new generation has two improvements. The first is the final spatial scale. So now they are at fine spatial resolution. The second improvement is that now they include, due to this fine spatial scale and due to other reasons, now they include a lot more processes than the previous generation. And what does this mean? More processes means that now we cannot use these models, Earth system model at a global scale, but we can use them for regional application. So guess what? My first paragraph in the introduction, it will be about this, about describing this new improvement and regional application of Earth system models. That would be the research topic, the large topic, or the overview, yeah, that I want to provide. So let's look here. So here is this paper where we publish this. So you see here, we publish this in a journal called the Climate Service. And again, that is important to know who your audience are. So this is the climate service audience. So that means that these audience, they already know Earth system model. So you don't need to talk much about this or describe what an Earth system model is. They already know this. You can just directly describe this new improvements and how this new improvement are now enabling like regional application. So let's look at the paper here. So this is, you see here, this is the abstract. This is a practical implication of this paper. But here, this is the introduction. So if you look here, guess what this first paragraph is about. It's about like the improvement of spatial and the new processes that has been added to new generation of Earth system model. I talked about this here, and this enables some regional applications such as, so and I provide here example like agriculture, and then I provide few citation. Water resources, I provide few example. Energy, health, ecology, coastal management, financial service. So now see, I provided the application at regional scale that this new generation improve. And then how would I end this? I will end that now we will provide another application. We will show another application which is red tide, focusing on improving predictive performance of Earth system model using a sampling method. We present a case study of red tide. So now I here introduce our application, which is red tide. So what should be our next paragraph about? Let's look here. So remember, this is a large topic, and this is where you also will provide context. So I will talk here about red tide because the audience of this journal, like climate service, they know about Earth system model very well, but they don't know red tide. They are not harmful algae plume experts. This is just application like climate service or climate application for these Earth system models. So what would be the second paragraph? I will introduce what is red tide so that the reader, my audience, will know what I will talk about. I will start very general. So I will start by like talking about like harmful algae plume in here in Florida and their impact on health and their impact on the economy, tourism, and so on and so forth. That's what I did here. And then I provided the citation. Remember, everything you say in scientific and technical writing, and that's what we will learn, and that's what I'll keep emphasizing more and more later on. Everything you do, it should be evidence-based. So everything you see here, you provide evidence for it. Everything, see, you provide these sources as an evidence for what you're saying. So everything we write is supported by evidence. But anyway, so here I will I introduce what is red tide and the impact of red tide, why this is important, why are we studying this. Then I will here talk about the drivers of red tide. So the drivers of red tide, that could be like discharge, a nutrient, atmospheric deposition, blah, blah, blah. So I will talk generally about the driver of red tide, but are we considering all this driver in this paper? Again, remember here I am setting the stage. No, we are only considering one driver, which is loop current. So I provide like some, see here, some literature review about loop current. So I'm telling here, see, this is all example. Loop currents, this is a warm ocean current that is circulating the Gulf of Mexico, is part of the Gulf Stream. Again, if you don't understand all these details, that's not important. Like, this is not a modeling class. This is not a harmful RJ Plume class. It's not a modeling class. What I want you to see is how to do, like, what literature review needs to be done and how do we organize the introduction in a logical way, how we structured it in a logical way. So here I'm introducing like all the drivers, and I focus on one driver, which is loop current, and the rest of these here I'm explaining and giving the reader more details about loop current. Okay, so that is this part. But okay, that's fine. Okay, now we know that Earth system models and new generation are good, and now we know that you're going to talk about, you provide a case study about red tide, but what exactly are you going to do? That's my research problem. So here you do a broad survey to get an overview of the field. So this is, we get an overview of the field. Like, we have two fields here. The first field is Earth system model, regional application, and the second field is like red tides. Yeah, that's an overview. So I provided like this overview in the field. But what is our research problem? What do we want to study exactly? So what do we want to study exactly is that this Earth system model has outputs. We will be using some of these outputs to study red tides. Now, my research problem is, how can I take these outputs and improve these outputs to be able to use it to study red tide. So improvement, like, so the research problem is how to improve the output of Earth system models. There are different ways for doing this. You can do like bias correction, you can do downscaling, or you can do ensemble. The main focus of this research is ensemble method. What is ensemble method? Let me explain to you what is ensemble method. So an ensemble method, again, this is general things, whether you are in water, whether you're in construction management, whether you are in computer science, or whichever field, like civil and environmental engineering. This is like general modeling technique. So in some method, let's say like during hurricane, so you have some models that predict hurricanes. These models, by the way, are very similar to Earth system models. They sprout out of these Earth system models. They are version of these Earth system model, regional Earth system model, or even a global one. Yeah. And you will find some models. For example, let's say a hurricane is coming. So you'll find some model, like European model will tell you, oh, you know what, this hurricane is coming to Tampa area. Another European model will tell you maybe it's coming to Tampa or Sarasota areas. Then you find an American model is telling you this hurricane is coming to Fort Myers or Naples areas. Then you find the third model is telling you this hurricane is coming more towards the key. So you see here you have model 1, model 2, model 3, model 4, and so on. You could have up to 20 models. So ensemble model is that you create an ensemble of this model. So you don't base your decision on one model, but you base your decision on an ensemble of models. So the question here is which model to include and which model to exclude in our ensemble. So let's say we have 20 models. Do we include all the 20 model in our ensemble? That's one question. Another question is, when we include this model, do we give this model equal weighting, or we know that some models are better than the others, so these models that are better than the other, we should give them more weighting, and we should consider base our decision, give them more weight in our decisions than the other models. This is called ensemble method. Yeah. So so this is a crash course about ensemble method and modeling, but that's basically what it is. So here we are, so to improve the output of this Earth system model, you can use bias correction, you can use downscaling, or you can use an ensemble of models. So here, that would be a focused review, like to focused review to narrow down to specific problem within the field, like bias correction, down scaling, and so on. But so that's what we did here. So in this paragraph, I'm talking about like to improve the output, to improve relevant information from Earth system model, we do these three techniques. Okay, but then we focus more what exactly are we doing. So that's the research problem, but what exactly our research question, what do you want to focus on? Our research question is that we want to focus on ensemble method. So that's our research question, like for regional. So this ensemble method, there are several ways, criteria to consider by which model to include and exclude here. And our novelty, the novelty of this research is that, let's say there is like criteria number one, criteria number two, criteria number three, like there are four criteria to consider for which model to include or exclude in this model. And we are proposing a fifth criteria, which is like based on like pre-screening. So that's a new criteria which we are including, which is pre-screening. So guess what? And that would be the heart of our literature review, because here I will discuss what ensemble method are being used. So I will say there is this ensemble method, 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 but this ensemble method or this ensemble criteria does not capture the whole picture. We need a new criteria, which is this one here, which is like the pre-screening one criteria. So that would be like critical review. That is would be the main, the heart of our literature review, where we will develop and refine our research question. And that's what we did here. So here we talked, like in this paragraph, we talked about like the existing ensemble method, and which could include like performance-based criteria, which include interdependence criteria, which include conversion criteria. Then here is the fourth criteria to assign weight in an intermodal comparison for observable and climate futures. That's the fourth criteria. Again, these details are not important, but what I want to show you is like how I'm doing this, not just listing like this study did this study this, but I'm putting it in a logical order, like four criteria. And then after I put this four criteria, this study complement an important aspect of model weighting by explicitly considering application specific metric rather than generic model assessment. So now here I'm introducing our, like this what has been done so far, and this is a new part. This is our new contribution. And here I introduce this and I explained here our new contribution. Okay, I explain like what exactly is this new criteria that we are introducing. So I put this here. So let's go back here. So basically this would be our critical review, is like to show the existing criteria and then to show the new criteria. And if you read this part, like if you read this article, you will understand in more detail. So please try to read this, like try to read the like read the introduction, where in the first two paragraph I provide this general background and context. Here I start to introduce our problem, which is improving the output of Earth system model. And here that is the heart of my literature review, where I provide a critical review about like existing model weighting method. And then here I show how our introduce our novelty of this research. So this paragraph where I introduce the novelty of this research, and the last paragraph here would be like this part, is that where I will it's actually like a combination of a critical review and a target review, but it is mainly like this part, like so here in the last paragraph is some more target reviews to explain like the advantage of this new method. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'm explaining in the last paragraph here, I'm explaining the advantage of this new method. This is the first advantage, that's the second advantage, that's the third advantage. So that is basically our research question and objective, like a combination of our research objective and question is to show this advantage. So what is our research objective? Is to develop this red tide regional application case study and to evaluate model weighting like this ensemble method with and without this new criteria that we are presenting. So here I present like the advantage. Oops. So here in the last paragraph, I'm presenting the advantage of this method, and that's what we want to do. We want to evaluate our results, our modeling results, based on this new criteria with and without this new criteria. And then here, I still have some citations here. You see, I have some citations. So this is just targeted, like I target certain citation to provide like support what I'm saying and to support these advantages that I'm introducing here. Okay. And then here I end with the scope and objective of our paper. So that's basically do like how many citations do we have here? I don't know. I would say about 40 or 50. Is that what we are expecting from you, this level of detailed analysis? Actually, no. Like if you check your rubrics, the number of citation, I don't remember the exact number, but you can check it's like 12 citation. So we want 12 citation for everything, not just like uh, not just like your main part of the literature review, which is here like this critical review, which is in our case would be this paragraph where I talk about the existing four criteria and then our to introduce our fifth criteria. So you see here in this one, I have a lot of citation like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I have 19 sources just to support, like, to show the novelty of our work. But in your case, I think we are expecting in the whole introduction, like 12 sources. That's our expectation. Yeah. So again, that's what we will learn next. Like one thing I didn't tell you, that's what we will be learning in the next videos is like how did I get these sources and how to organize the sources in a logical order and write your introduction. And then how to manage these sources also and cite them here. So you see these sources are automatically cited here in the reference list. Okay. So that is this example. Here is another example. So this example was for the water student. This example would be for civil engineering, construction management, computer science, and other student. So here, this is about like AI in education. So AI is invading education, higher education. So that would be like our large topic. So what would be our large topic? Opportunities and risk of AI in higher education. So that would be a broad survey to get an overview in the field. So that would be a broad survey to see what are the opportunities and what are the risk of AI in higher education. And I highly recommend you to read this because this is easy. Like this one is a little bit like very technical. You might not understand everything here, but this is an easy example. So, but again, the important thing is to see like the literature review part here. So guess what will be our first paragraph? So our first paragraph would be the opportunity, how AI is very useful for higher education. And guess what would be the second paragraph? The second paragraph would be about the risk, how AI could have some negative impact on student learning. So that would be the broad overview, the pros and cons of AI in higher education. But what are we doing? So now I set up the ground, I provided the context, I provided the background information, but what are we exactly doing? We want to, our focus would be reshaping assessment in higher education. We want to change assessment, how we assess a student, the type of exam, homework, whatever we gave, task assignment we gave to them, so that we can leverage these opportunities and mitigate this task. So that would be our research problem. And that would be, so now this is a large topic, this is part of the large topic. And that would be focus review, narrow down to specific problem within the field, which is like reshaping assessment. And and that's what exactly we did here in our third paragraph. So if you read the third paragraph, so in response to this opportunities and the challenging, this is what educators has been doing to change their assessment. This is the new assessment methods that are emerging. So you see here that again here, this would be the heart of my literature review, because in the previous example, the heart of my literature review was this part, like here in this example, the heart of my literature review will be this part here. Yeah, the research problem. That would be the heart of my literature review, because this here I'm showing what other instructors have done in terms of like changing their assessment, and that will help me us to introduce the novelty of our work, which what is it? We are introducing a new assessment method, and that's what this paragraph is about. So this paragraph here is about what other instructors and university has done, like new assessment method. And here we are introducing our new assessment method, which is called like FACT. FACT means fundamental, applied, conceptual, and critical thinking. So basically, that's how we want to design assessment to assess all these skills for a student. And here I'm explaining our method, and I'm even supporting this explanation with some sources to support like my arguments that I am making. So here that would be the research problem is reshaping assessment. The research question, what research question? Here we don't have like a research question. We just have like we are introducing a new method. So this study introduces a new method. That's our research question, is to introduce this new method and to assess the efficacy of this new method that we are introducing, the fact assessment framework. So that's a critical view to develop and refine our research question. And then our research objective. What is our research objective? To evaluate the efficacy of this fact framework and to ground this fact framework within the pedagogical, like educational theory and the practice. And that would be like targeted review, okay, to establish this grounding. So that's what we did here. So in the last paragraph here, that's what we are doing. We are just talking about our research objective and scope, and that's what we have here. But like you see here, this is the introduction, and then we have here a new section called literature review. What is this? So this is usually in this is not common in engineering like research, but in social science and educational research, it is common that you have a separate section about literature review, and this section is usually needed for theoretical grounding, so that you can ground your work within existing theories in education or in social science, or so that generally require a separate section of literature review. And you see here fact in pedagogical theory and practice. But do we expect this from you in this course? No, unless you are doing something and you need to do theoretical groundings, then you will have a separate literature review section where you will expand on the literature reviews that you have already presented here, but you provide this in more details. But our expectation for this course is just this introduction. I highly recommend, so I recommend like you either read this one or this one based on your interest. This one is highly recommended because it's much easier to read. If you are interested in modeling, you will enjoy reading this, but this one is much easier to read, and you will see how to do this. Okay, so let's end this video. So I'll end this video by just showing you what we will be doing next. So next we will learn about like how to do literature search, like academic databases to find these sources. And then I will show you how to evaluate and organize these sources and use the citation management software for organizing these sources. Then I will show you how to develop a conceptual framework, writing your review. Like after you did this, how you can write your review, like identify key patterns and theme as I showed you here. So here, for example, I identified key patterns. Like what are the existing criteria that people use to evaluate in sample? These are key patterns. Here, I identified key patterns. What are the pros of AI in higher education? What are the cons of AI in higher education? These are key patterns. What are existing methods that people have introduced to incorporate AI in higher education? These are key patterns. So how to identify a key pattern and construct a logical structure for your introduction. This logical structure, starting from the large topic to part of the large topic to research question to research objective. So you'll have one more lesson to practice this in more detail. And then drafting the review, like technical writing. I will emphasize technical writing. 20% of your grade for your final proposal is on technical writing. How to write a critical and coherent narrative, and how to have like clarity, accuracy in the language, and depth of your writing. So how to draft and review and finalize your literature review. So that would be the technical writing lesson. So that would be the next video, and I think that's all for this overview. And like like we will see you in the next video.